Hi, I'm going to help my students with a challenging free response question from the AP Computer Science exam, and I'm going to pick a problem that's number 4 on one of the previous exams. So I'm going to go to the year 2011, which I have linked here on my homepage, and go to that test after logging into the College Board website. I want to scroll down past the easy question number 1 and the slightly harder but still easy question number 2, which happens to be a case study grid world question, and also the design question of that year where you had to write a whole class and not just individual methods. And I'm going to even go past question number 3, which was a one-dimensional array or array list, so it wasn't that hard. And I'm going to go to question number 4. Question number 4 is where they often tuck away the harder two-dimensional array questions. Never a two-dimensional array list, but always two-dimensional array. You'll have double square brackets here, and you'll have to do something crazy complicated with rows and columns or X and Y, something in a table kind of view. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, and follow along. I'm going to try to think this out loud so that you can follow my logic. So here's that question of that year, and it had to do with a class called root cipher. And after reading all of this, which would take me a number of minutes, that's for sure, because they're talking about things like encryption and ciphers, all stuff that you might not have any clue about, and you're not expected to know about these things. They try to take you out of your element as a student who just tweets things all day long and plays Xbox games, and they're trying to throw you into a real-world situation where, well, you actually earn a living by doing stuff like this in a paycheck. It's not playtime here. This is real serious time. Okay, it's a two-dimensional array. Something about row major versus column major. You should probably know that. Row major is when the row is first and then the column is first in terms of ordering or sorting things. So when you read as an English speaking person or whatever, you go row by row, and when you're in a row, you then go column. So you go in the first row, row 0, you look at that first element, that first column. Then you go to this one. Then you read that word. Then you read that word. And only when you've exhausted the row do you drop down to the second row and you go column by column. So row is more important than column when you're talking about row major. But when you're talking about column major, that would be as if you had to read this way. This word, then this word. Then over here, this word, then this word. Then this word, then this word, then this. That would be totally different. Books would be, I don't know, pages would be stapled together differently. It'd be weird. Anyway, that's what they mean by column major. Well, that comes into play later on as we continue to decipher this problem and figure out what they're wanting us to do. Okay, so there's your class. There is your instance variable. It's a two-dimensional array of strings. We definitely will be using this in our code. Apparently, this is important. After all, they highlighted it. It's an instance variable called numRows and one called numColumns. We're going to be using those. So those are your tools that you're going to be using, building blocks, whatever. And let's see what we have to do with this. In part A, we have to write a method called fillBlock. Later on, we have to write a method called encryptMessage in part B. And apparently this method gets used somehow, either as part of this or as part of this or somehow in between, and that's probably to be explained later. You will not be writing this, and they didn't bother showing you the code. They just are telling you that it does whatever it says that it does, and it just works. Okay, let's go to part A and start doing whatever fillBlock tells us to do. Oh, well, right here. Place a string into letter block in row major order. You'll have a parameter named str. It's a string. I don't know, like the word Santa. And you will be returning nothing, void, But as part of what you're doing, the post condition, the letter A will be placed in unfilled cells, and trailing characters of the word Santa will be ignored if, for example, the SAN is all that fits into this two-dimensional array that they end up giving you. So the word Santa gets placed in here, S-A-N-T, then this A gets wrapped around and put in here, and because we have empty spaces, we'll be putting the capital A in. Now, if we had the word Santa Claus, and even with a space embedded in there, after the lowercase a and Santa there, that last A, we would have a space and stored there, and then we would have the capital C and the lowercase l placed in these two positions of our two-dimensional array. And the, sorry guys, the AUS part, AUS, just gets chopped off. Trailing characters are ignored. So we're going to be given a two-dimensional array called letter block. See, this two-dimensional array is called letter block. And it's a two-dimensional array of strings. But these strings are just one letter each. We're going to be doing something that chops this up into little pieces. Hey, I bet we're going to be using substring to chop those pieces up one letter at a time. Okay, well, I've already read over the problem and I understood it before I made this video, so you wouldn't have figured this all out so quickly with this minimal information. No, what you have to do is go to the second page here of the test booklet and read this paragraph to understand what row major order really is, and to understand that the length of Santa Claus, if it's smaller, then you use the capital A, and if it's larger, then you ignore things and therefore cut off the AUS of Santa. And furthermore, we don't even know what the size, or the length I should say, of our two-dimensional array is. It might even be something that's tall and skinny like this, with just two columns and maybe lots of rows. We don't know what the dimensions are going to be. Now this is just an example. Do not hardwire your code with 3 as the number of rows and 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 as the number of columns just because the example was that way. Don't hardwire your code unless you're desperate. Okay, let's proceed now. Oh wow, they were really nice. They told you in the year 2011 something that, well, you should have known from your class. You should know that when you use substring and you have something comma something plus 1, you're always taking one letter at a time. Instead of Santa, you're just taking the letter S. Then when K plus pluses, you're taking the letter A as an individual letter because of that plus 1. Well, let's start writing this code. If you can nail question number 4 on the AP exam, even if you just get part A right, because this is only part A, there's a part B on another page, you're on track for a 5. With the curve and the fact that most people are like tired and exhausted 3 hours into this exam and they can't even understand what the heck they're doing here, you're in good shape. And furthermore, even if you can just get partial credit, anytime you have a two-dimensional array, your answer is probably going to need a double nested for loop. Probably, I can't guarantee this. So if you can just write this much out under time pressure, maybe the bell's about to ring and you can't work on this exam more than like 5 more minutes, as long as you get this in and your curly braces and all that. Now this is void, so there's no return. We just have a curly brace down here. Curly brace here, of course, curly brace here for your for loop. You might need to put variables in, and obviously you need I equals 0 and then maybe j equals 0. But because this is rows and columns with a two-dimensional array, I'm going to use the variable r and the variable c, because when you have row major order, it's always the row on the outside of the column. It's just the way it works. For the other part of this question, B, it might end up being column up here and row in here. I'm not sure, I'm not that far into the question yet. And while we're at it, let's just start these at 0. Normally things start at 0. There are exceptions though. and we're probably going to be doing R++. Unless we see that we eventually have to go 2 at a time or something, it's probably R++ and it's probably C++. And we should declare these variables right here. It's just nice and slick to put the word int in here. I don't even know if they would take off points if you forgot the word int there, but that's that. Okay, now we got to figure out how to do this. So maybe you just want to play in the scratch paper that they give you and do some examples. Well, let's look at their example, because why reinvent the wheel when they already have an example drawn out for you. Meet, what is it? Meet at noon is their secret message. So I don't see meet at noon written out here in this area of the test. So I'm just going to pretend that my parameter str is equal to the string meet at noon. So I'm just going to put str equals meet at noon right there somehow. And that m is in position 0 of the string, and the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and etc. Even blank spaces count as positions in strings. So that's that. And we have 8, 9, good, 10, 11. It's a little sloppy here, but you get the idea. Now the length of this, in case it matters, is 12. The length of that string. And let's see how big our grid is. 3 and 5. Now, if we had 3 rows, they would be numbered 0 to 2, and if we had 5 columns, they'd be numbered 0 to 4. And this is a case where we had extra space because the length here is 12, and when you take 3 times 5, you have 15 elements in your two-dimensional array. 15 is greater than 12. That's why we end up having 3 fillers there, the capital A. And let's now proceed to write the code. Now you're just supposed to assume that num rows and num columns as properties of the class on that previous page, they've already been set equal to values. So let's pretend that num rows is indeed 3 and num columns is indeed 5. That's not something you can change here in this method. It's just been already set ahead of time. So your outer for loop generally is the number of rows that you have. So I right now have the urge to put in r less than 3. It's always a less than symbol. Never use greater than or equal to, less than or equal to symbols. Rarely would you do that. You're off by 1 if you do. So r less than 3 is generally what you do. Get it? Starts at 0, 1, 2, 2 is less than 3. But that's hardwiring our code. And even though it's not coming in as a parameter in these parentheses, num rows is already accessible because it's a property in the class. So instead of that 3, you should, for full credit on this question, or just partial credit if that's all you have time to get, you should put num rows here. And some old-fashioned people, or just students in other classes, they might do like this dot. But it's a private instance variable, I know, but you don't need the word this because you're in the class, so you just don't need it. And you could probably do this dot get rows if there's a get row method, which I don't know if there was. Don't assume that there is an accessor method. Just put num rows in there. It works. And then your column loop, because this is a two-dimensional array problem, and you know you probably need a double nested for loop to get this code correctly. Your variable c here would be less than num columns. Folks, this is probably already good enough partial credit to get a 3 on the AP exam and maybe even a 4. Okay, let's try to get some more mileage out of this and get a 5. So what is it that we're supposed to do inside the belly of this double nested for loop? Well, now we have to step through this and pretend that we're the computer and doing this step by step. So I guess my first step would be to take the m I'm sorry, to take the m and meet at noon, go to substring k comma k plus 1 and put it into 0, 0. Well, the 0, 0 will be what we where we are in this two-dimensional array. And what's the name of the two-dimensional array again? It's not a parameter here. That's the string, meet at noon. Oh, on the previous page, it's the property letter block, just like num rows. This thing right here, it's called letter block. So I'm just going to call it LB because it's hard to write with this pen on the computer screen. On the real exam, you would spell this out, but it's LB. LB, I'll just call it. And what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to system out print? No. You never display or system out print something on the AP exam. Never, never, ever. Are we supposed to return it? No. You don't return the m because first of all, it's a void function. Don't return something in the middle of your loop before you're done with everything. Are we supposed to break or add things up? No. What is it that we're supposed to do? Oh, we're supposed to set it equal to, we're supposed to pretend that this is empty right now. We're supposed to take the m and put it in there. That means the piece of substring is over here, sub s, that's my abbreviation for substring, and we're supposed to assign it into letter block RC. From right to left is how assignment statements work. So this code right here, k plus 1, that code, and substring. What am I substringing? Oh, I'm substringing str. I need a string variable name in front of the dot for substring. So hopefully you're picking up on the fact that I'm sloppy here, but that's what's happening. str.substring k comma. That letter, the m, is plugging into this first top left corner in the 0, 0 position of the array. That's it. That's the hard work. Oh, but now we have to trace our code that we so painfully wrote. So let's trace it. Let's start r with 0. And is r less than num rows? Yeah, it is. And then we go into this for loop. C begins at 0. Is C less than num columns? Yes, it is. So we do this code. We're taking this and putting it into here. Well, what's K? Huh? What's K? I got it from here, but what's K? Well, we are at position 0 of the string. Don't think that num rows or num columns or your variables r and c are being used here. This is just, we got to keep track of where we are. So I think we need another variable. Let's just call it K. And we need to declare it and set it equal to 0. 99 times out of 100 you set variables equal to 0. Don't put private there. This is not the property of a class. And K is K. It's 0. It's a placeholder. So it's like a little pointer variable. It remembers where we are in this string, meet at noon. Okay, so if K is 0 right now, 0 comma 1 is substringed, is the letter M, and we're putting an M into here, and that is correct. So we have now done that. And now we loop back up to this spot right here, and C++'s, and is 1 less than 5? It is. So we execute this again. Okay, K comma K plus 1. Well, K is currently 0. We initialized it at 0. So we come up here, 0 comma 0. Okay, we're taking the M, and we're putting M into 0, 1, because the C is 1 right now because we C++. 0, 1, let's see, 0, 1. Row 0, column 1. Oh, we're putting an M in here. Really, we're down here, kind of. We're putting in that. No, I don't want to put the M in both places. I want to put that lowercase e in there. So what did I do wrong? K is 0. Oh, I need to bump myself over here to the e. I need to go from that 0 to the 1 that I just covered up. Which is, K is what's keeping track of where I am in all this. K needs to plus somewhere. Should I plus it right here? Or should I plus it right here? Or somewhere else? Well, I'm kind of looping around in here, and I don't want to k plus it early, because then it's not on 0 when I need it to be on 0. So I need to k plus it right here. Semicolon there for good style and all that. So now k bumps up to 1, and it does take that lowercase e and it puts it where it belongs. And then C++'s, and because we're now looking at row 0, column 2, row 0, column 2, this is the spot where we next store or assign 0, 2, the next piece of the substring, which, because k just bumped up to 2 from the last time around, we are taking that second e and we're putting it into position 0, 2. The second e goes there, and so on. The magic does work, because as soon as C++ is up to 5, 5 is not less than 5, and so the computer finally comes up to here in R++'s, and this inner for loop resets C back to 0, and the next piece of substring gets put into 1, 0, RC, 1, 0. Because the R went from 0 to 1, we're now in the C reset back to 0. That's the way double nested for loops work. 1, 0, which 1, 0 is really this position, row 1, column 0. And at that point, K will be whatever takes you to the letter A. It's just the way it will work out. So it will advance you to the next row when necessary, and it will advance you to the third row when necessary, etc. This just always works. Trace some of my previous worksheets, watch earlier videos. A double nested for loop always goes row by row, exhaustively fills this seating up at the concert or the ball game. People just kind of fill up the seats one by one, best seat available, and it works. Until you run out of letters. So I don't want to keep going, because once I get out of bounds here, I'll get a runtime exception error. So I think I need to do a check to see if K is still like in play. If K is less than the length of meet at noon, which is str.length. You need this if k less than str.length, and because length is a method in the string class, you need parentheses there. That code that we traced is in the body of this if statement. And I don't have room to make it neat, but this k++ will need to go further down. And as an else, we need to do all of this equals the letter A in double quotes. So this code worked if the string perfectly lined up lengthwise with the available spaces in this two-dimensional array. But if it fell short, we needed this else to catch us. Now, if it's too long, it will stop anyway, because once the double nested for loop, once you run out of rows, this code will just stop, and it just takes care of itself. It won't cause any problems. This is a mess. You can go look at the answers that are posted online at the Litvin's awesome website, or in the canonical solutions from College Board, and probably other places on the internet. But this is the code that works for part 4A from the year 2011. And if you can't even get some of this in, you get a lot of partial credit. Even if you forgot this else, you're getting lots of partial credit. Just write your for loops. Don't put a return in because it's void. Add this extra variable. Hopefully you knew to do that. Put the num rows, num columns, and you're getting lots of partial credit. Good luck.